Eventually, I began to compare myself to Martha. She was curvier, her hips fuller, her chest rounder. I wondered if David hadn't noticed me because I wasn't curvy like her. I would stand in front of the mirror at night, pinching my waist, adjusting my robe, wondering if David didn't see me because I was too thin. That was when I decided to do something unthinkable. I took some money from my small allowance the parish gave me, and I bought things no nun should ever own. A padded bra to make my chest look fuller, and padded innerwear to give me curves I didn't have.
Chapter 1. Our Life Now. The kettle whistles in our kitchen. I reach for the knob and turn off the flame. The cooker is getting old. Sometimes the knob heats up, so I wrap my fingers in a towel before touching it. The windows are open and the morning air drifts in. It smells of lemon leaves and rosemary from our garden, sharp and fresh. David stands at the sink, washing mangoes. We bought them at the market yesterday after bargaining with a woman who still calls him father, even though she knows he is no longer a priest. It used to piss him off when people called him that, but nowadays, we have gotten used to it. We have accepted that some people will always call him father. He dries his hands on a towel and comes to stand beside me. He presses one mango onto the cutting board and slices it carefully. The room fills with its sweet smell. He turns toward me, smiling like he always does. He places a slice of that mango into my mouth, and I close my eyes as I chew it slowly. It's soft, juicy, and delicious. I set 2 cups on the counter and pour the tea. "Here's your tea, babe," I say. He takes his cup, and we drink our tea in the kitchen, like we always do. He hums a tune I recognize from my convent days, but I can't quite place it. Yes, I also used to be a nun. More about that later. On the fridge door behind us, our son's drawing is pinned by a magnet. Aaron is 10 years old now. Let me tell you about the drawing. It is a drawing of his rooster named Coco. It was a gift from his grandmother, David's mom. I wonder why Aaron has named a rooster. I wonder where he got that name from. In my opinion, a more appropriate name for Coco would be loud, or alarm, or annoying, because he's always crowing. Outside, Coco crows late again. I've wanted to slaughter him for weeks, but Aaron won't let me. He guards that rooster like a treasure. He has told me many times that his rooster is not for meat. I've made my peace with that, but that doesn't make the crowing less annoying. From across the fence, the neighbor's radio airs the morning news, and somewhere on the rough road behind our home, a pickup sputters to life. One thing about David is that when he is talking to you, he will stop doing everything and give you his full attention. Everything stops, and you get all of him, and I admire that about him. He stops humming and puts down his cup. He looks at me and tells me about his plan to plant flowers in the backyard today. He knows I love flowers, and he wants me to have an endless supply. My man is thoughtful like that. The last time he tried, the rains betrayed him and the seedlings dried. He wants to try again. We finish our tea, and he heads outside to fire up the oven for me before proceeding to work in the garden. I stay behind to test out some new pot designs I saw on Pinterest and to prepare his favorite soup for lunch. This is our life now. A home full of love, a bright, handsome boy, a loud, ridiculous rooster, and a big, sustainable garden. If anyone walked into our home right now, they would not see nothing unusual, just a married couple growing older together. But nothing about our story is ordinary. I was a nun, David was a priest, and we were never supposed to fall in love. This is what happened.
Chapter 2. How I Became a Nun. When I was 10 years old, my father was sent to prison. He wasn't a bad man. No, he just made one very human mistake that cost him his freedom. He was a truck driver, and one night, he fell asleep at the wheel, probably from long working hours. On that dark road, an accident happened and a young couple died. The court called it manslaughter. They gave him 8 years in a maximum security prison. And just like that, my family broke in half. For years, I grew up without him. My mother tried to wait for my dad, but she was young and naive. Eventually, she got tired and lonely. By the time my father finished his sentence and came home, I was 18. I still remember the day he returned, ready to rebuild, but it was too late. My mother had already married another man. There was another man in the house, and a ring that wasn't from my father on her finger. I later learned from a prison warden who attended his funeral that while Dad was in prison, he worked in the prison workshop and saved every coin he could. He wanted to buy a ring when he came out so that he could take Mom to church and renew their vows. They had married long ago before he went to prison, but he had been away for so long and he just wanted to reaffirm his love for her. He loved my mom like that. When he came out and found her already married to another man, that dream shattered. He used the money he had saved to drink instead. I still remember the look on his face the day he came home and found another man. I'll never forget it. It was like watching a man die standing up. My stepfather chased him out of the compound like a stray dog. Mom had already transferred the property ownership to the new man's name. My father never recovered. He drifted. He fought shadows no one else could see. He was broken. He tried to drink away his pain. I remember how I used to pack some lunch and look for him around the streets near our home. Sometimes I could find him outside the club. Other times he was sleeping in ditches, dead drunk. But he was my father and I loved him. I wanted to save him. His pain was deep and one night it carried him too far. He took his life. When they found him, he was lying on a railway track, his body badly mangled. A witness said he threw himself on the railway track while a train was approaching and it ran him over. He had a broken bottle of whiskey in one hand and a letter in the other. The letter said only 5 words: "I will always love her." We buried him in a public cemetery. When my mother found out, the guilt destroyed her. She didn't even attend his funeral. She knew she had driven him to it. She knew she was the reason he was gone. She carried that guilt until it swallowed her whole. Eventually, she too ended her own life. And just like that, I was left with my stepfather. He wasn't a kind man. He reminded me every day that I was not his blood. I had nowhere to run, no one to pay my university tuition, and no one to love me without condition. That was when the church became my only way out. The convent offered me 3 things I desperately needed: a roof over my head, a scholarship to the parish Bible college, and certainty all my needs would be taken care of by the church. I would not have to worry about anything. So, at 18, while other girls were planning futures filled with weddings, children, or careers, I walked through the gates of the convent and started my training to become Sister Sarah. Sometimes, I believe I could have followed in my mother's and father's footsteps if I hadn't made that choice. I told myself that becoming a nun was God's will, but if I am honest, I don't know if that was true. I think I was running from the uncertainty in my life at the time, from the fear of life becoming unbearable, from the fear of being alone.
Chapter 3: The first time I saw him. I had been at the convent for 2 years when I first saw David. He arrived at the parish just a month after my 20th birthday. I remember the day vividly. It was a Sunday morning during Mass, and the rain hadn't stopped all night. The parish smelled of wet earth and old wood. I sat on a bench in the second row. I was there physically, but my mind was somewhere else. I was thinking about my late parents, wondering if my life could have been different if they were alive, or if I had siblings. Yes, I was the only child they had by the time my father was sent to prison. The convent gave me comfort, but I still wished I had a family. Someone to call and ask how I was doing. Someone to ask if I had eaten, or just to wish me a good day ahead. I was lost in thought when the door creaked and the new father walked in, Father David. He was the new priest assigned to our parish after the old priest got dementia and was sent to a home where he could be well taken care of. Up until that moment,
All the priests I had ever seen were above 50 years old. But David was so young. He was only 25. As soon as I saw him, something shifted inside me. My stomach tightened, as though I had been caught doing something wrong. My pulse quickened, and I felt heat rise to my cheeks. I didn't want to stare, but my eyes betrayed me. I studied the way his crucifix hung against his broad frame, the way he moved. When he spoke, his voice was low and warm. No fire, no thunder. He talked about kindness, about giving each other grace, just as God gives us. He spoke with such passion, it was impossible not to listen. I tried to lower my gaze, but I kept finding myself looking up at him, watching the way his lips formed the words, the way his hands moved gently as he emphasized a point. I tried to bury it. I told myself it was nothing, just admiration, just respect. But something in me had already shifted, and the scary part was that it was undeniable. I made up my mind to talk to him and get to know him, but I didn't know how. I had never dated in my entire life or even had male friends.
Chapter 4. Invisible. After that first Sunday, I tried everything to be noticed by him, Father David. I passed by him after Mass, hoping he might stop and greet me. I volunteered for extra duties in church whenever he was there. I even swung my hips a little more when I walked past him. But it was as if I were invisible. His eyes passed over me like I was a shadow. And then there was Sister Martha. Martha was older than me, maybe by 4 or 5 years. People loved her. Even the parish children clung to her like bees to sugar. So when the parish assigned her to accompany Father David on a mission to the villages, my stomach dropped. I felt threatened. I told myself it was fine, God's will, nothing to worry about. But when they left together, I imagined them walking side by side down those red dirt roads, talking, laughing. The image gnawed at me. I felt so jealous. When they returned a week later, I watched from the balcony as they carried supplies back into the store. They exchanged some small joke that made Martha laugh. David smiled too, his teeth flashing in a way I had not seen before. That smile haunted me. Don't get me wrong. I wanted him to smile, but I wanted to be the reason he smiled. One evening, when Martha was at prayer, I slipped into her shared room. Her shoes were tucked neatly under the bed. I fetched a jug of water and poured it inside both of them. Then I tucked them back under the bed. The next morning, I heard her squeal when she slipped her foot into the wet leather. She had no idea it was me, but I knew, and the guilt sat heavy on me all day. My heart had grown so dark with jealousy I was ashamed of myself. Over the next few weeks, I did all I could to be noticed by him, all to no avail. Eventually, I began to compare myself to Martha. She was curvier, her hips fuller, her chest rounder. I wondered if David hadn't noticed me because I wasn't curvy like her. I would stand in front of the mirror at night, pinching my waist, adjusting my robe, wondering if David didn't see me because I was too thin. That was when I decided to do something unthinkable. I took some money from my small allowance the parish gave me, and I bought things no nun should ever own. A padded bra to make my chest look fuller, and padded innerwear to give me curves I didn't have. I hid them deep under my mattress, wrapped in brown paper like contraband. I wore them beneath my veil, but still it wasn't enough. David did not notice me. Sister Martha was still the one assigned to accompany him on missions, and it killed me. I wanted it to be me. My heart continued to grow darker. I made it my mission to make sure that Martha would be suspended. I sneaked into her room and hid the padded bras in her belongings. I wrote an anonymous letter to Mother Superior and said I had seen Martha with padded bras. I knew that would land her in serious trouble. I slid the letter under Mother Superior's door late at night. The following morning, she came marching into the living quarters. She went straight to Martha's room and searched her belongings. She found the bras under her mattress. And just like that, Martha was put on mandatory counseling at the parish headquarters before she could be allowed back into service. She cried and tried to explain that those were not hers, but Mother Superior did not believe her.
I pretended to be shocked when my roommate told me about what had happened to Martha, but deep inside, I felt a twisted satisfaction.
Chapter 5. The letter he ignored. After Martha was suspended, I thought it would be me assigned to accompany Father David on the church missions. But instead, they assigned another sister, Sister Lillian. When I heard the news, my stomach turned. I wanted to scream. Time passed, and the storm of Martha's suspension slowly faded from the convent. Life returned to its usual rhythm. But inside me, nothing was usual. My hunger for David had only deepened. I wanted to know him so badly. At the parish, we used to shuffle rolls every 4 months. When the time came, Mother Superior assigned me to the parish store. For the next 4 months, my job would be to keep track of the inventories, the sacks of grain, the candles, the communion wine, and the rosary sent in from the headquarters. It was a quiet, dusty work that I did not like, but it brought me something I hadn't dared to hope for. It brought Father David. He came often to sign the books and to see what was missing, so that he could inform the supply store at the headquarters. At first, our conversations were brief, like a question about how much communion wine was left or a polite thank you. But over time, the silence between us softened. He began to linger. He asked how I was settling into convent life. He asked about my family, and I told him. He listened in that way of his, fully, patiently, as though nothing else in the world mattered in that moment. And I began to laugh around him. I told him small things, like how I hated the taste of the communion wine, or how I sometimes scribbled words in the margins of my prayer book, little poems that came to me when I couldn't sleep. That was when his eyes lit up. I write too. I thought he was teasing me, but then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded page. His handwriting was neat. He read to me, softly, his voice low. I stared at him, stunned. His words were not sermons, they were life. They were pain and hope and longing, wrapped into 4 simple lines. "You're a poet," I whispered. He smiled shyly, like a boy, not a priest. Our bond grew with time. We talked more often, slipping into conversations that lasted longer than they should. I lived for those moments. And in my heart, I knew this was not admiration. This was not respect. It was love. One evening, after he left the store, I stayed behind with trembling hands, a pen, and a piece of paper. I wrote him a poem. It was not neat, not perfect, but it was mine. The poem read like this: "If I could carve my heart into words, you would see your name etched deep in its walls. I pray, I fast, I kneel in silence, yet your voice is the hymn I cannot escape. Tell me, Father, is love sin when it feels like salvation? Is longing unholy when it makes me believe I am alive again?" I folded the paper and slipped it between the inventory books where I knew he would find it. My chest ached with fear, with hope, with shame. The next day, he came. He found the poem. Our eyes met. For a moment, the world stopped. Then he placed it aside quickly, signed the page, and left without a word. After that, everything changed. He stopped spending time at the store. He signed the inventories quickly, his eyes fixed on the paper, not on me. He kept his questions brief. No more jokes. He avoided me. And I was left to wonder, had I ruined everything? Had I driven him away forever?
Chapter 6. He confessed his love for me. David continued to avoid me. Days passed, then weeks, with nothing but brief words exchanged in the store. He came in, signed the books, and left quickly, as if he was disgusted by me. I struggled with it. I cried every night. I asked myself if loving someone and being honest about it was wrong. Didn't the Bible teach us to be honest? Then why was I being punished for being honest? Every day, I hoped he would say something, but for a long time, he didn't. Until one night, just as I was closing the store to return to the living quarters, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned and saw him. It was Father David. "Sarah, we need to talk." I froze for a second. I opened the door again. We stepped back inside and he closed it behind us. For a long moment, he stood there, searching for words. Then he finally said, "Sarah, the truth is, I also feel something for you, and I've been running from this, from you, because priests are not supposed to feel like this. I thought if I avoided you, the feelings would fade. I have prayed, I have fasted, I have begged God to take them away, but they've only grown stronger." My breath caught. I wanted to shut him up with a kiss. He went on, I've been thinking a lot about what we could be outside this place, but I am afraid of leaving the priesthood. I started as an altar boy when I was 12. I have no skill I could use outside these walls to make money. What if I won't be able to provide for us? Relief washed over me. David felt something for me. The moment felt unreal. I stepped closer. My voice trembled, but my resolve was firm. David, you do have something. I told him, you speak German, you could work as a translator, and I know sign language. I could get work as a sign language interpreter. It won't be easy, but we'll figure it out. We'll survive. His eyes softened. He moved closer. I don't know what the future has in store for us, but this is real. We are here now, and I am in love with you. I need time to finish the mission I've been assigned. After that, we'll leave this place. He had told me before how he wanted to make a difference in his village. He had been pushing the parish to build a school and sink boreholes there. The approval had just come through that week, and he wanted the project to be completed before we left. I understood. My heart skipped a beat. We were going to leave the service and start a life outside. From that night, everything changed. He came to the store more often than he needed to. We found stolen moments and talked about our future. To be honest, we had no idea of what to expect, but we had each other, and that was enough.
Chapter 7. Leaving the service. David left for his village to oversee the project he had fought so hard for. While he was away, he still found ways to reach me. He sent me poems, folded scraps of paper carried to me by a trusted altar boy who never knew the secret he was part of. Each note felt like a piece of him, and I read them over and over in the quiet of my room. In his village, the school began to take shape, boreholes were sunk, and children laughed as fresh streams of water burst from the ground. Every update he sent filled me with pride. He was building something that could help a lot of people, and it only deepened my love for him. He also found time and visited his parents. He told them about me. He told them about his plan to leave the priesthood. He braced himself for disappointment, but instead, his father nodded quietly and his mother's face lit up. "My son," she said softly, "you have served well, but your life is not only for the church. You deserve joy too, and I have always dreamed of holding a grandchild before I leave this world." The project was completed within a few months, and David came back. That same evening, he sat at his desk and wrote his resignation letter. He sealed it with steady hands and sent it to headquarters. I knew it was my time too. I went to Mother Superior's office and I confessed about everything, not just about my love for David, but also the jealousy that had consumed me, the lies I had told, the way I had tried to ruin another sister. Tears poured down my face as I spoke, ashamed of every word, yet relieved to finally bring them into the light. Mother Superior listened without interrupting. When I finished, she reached across the desk and placed her hand gently over mine. "You are brave to tell the truth, Sarah," she said softly, "and brave to choose your path. Remember, you do not have to be a nun to serve God. You can serve Him in many ways." Soon we were cleared to leave. But before we left, something happened that neither of us expected. The parish celebrated us. They organized a small send-off party in the courtyard. The sisters sang hymns of blessing. There was food, laughter, and even a cake baked in our honor. For a moment, I felt the love of family, something I had always longed for. When it was time to go, David held my hand as we walked together through the gates of the parish. We were no longer priest and nun. We were man and woman. And we were not leaving God behind. We were simply walking into a new way of serving Him through the life we were about to build.
Chapter 8. Life outside the parish. When we left the parish, we had almost nothing. No savings, no furniture, just $200 the church gave us, and the courage to begin again. We rented a single room just outside town. The ceiling leaked when it rained, and the floor was cracked cement, but it was ours. David found work at a small hardware store as a driver. He gave him a battered old truck, and he made deliveries of cement, bricks, roofing sheets. He came home every evening covered in dust and sweat,
but he always smiled when he walked through the door, happy to see me. I found work at a small school for children with special needs. The pay was meager, but the work filled me with joy. The children clapped their hands in the air when they were excited, and their laughter was the purest sound I had ever heard. We lived simply. We cooked on a charcoal stove outside. We counted every coin, saving little by little, hiding money in a tin under the bed. Eventually, with enough saved, we moved to David's village. His parents gave us a huge portion of land, and we built a small home. David planted coffee. I learned pottery from an old woman in the village. My first pots were crooked, but I kept trying. Soon, people began buying them. When we had saved enough, David asked me to walk with him one evening. He went to the old mango tree near the edge of the farm. He stood beneath it, holding a small box in his hand. "Sarah," he said, "I want to marry you. Will you be my wife?" I laughed and cried at the same time. My hands shook as I said yes. We were married in a small ceremony at the very parish we had left. The sisters and priests who once called us father and sister now blessed us as husband and wife. The same chapel that had once held my vows of celibacy now rang with wedding hymns. We didn't go on an expensive honeymoon. We hired a small lake house just outside town and stayed there for 2 weeks. I remember when we got there was a beehive on the back door. David hadn't seen it. When he opened the door, the bees swarmed. He got stung on his lips. Our first kiss was awkward, and we blamed it on his swollen lips. But the truth was, neither of us had ever kissed before, so we didn't really know how to kiss. We had kept ourselves for marriage. Everything was awkward. In time, Aaron came, our son. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a loud cry that filled our small house with life. Holding him for the first time, I thought of my father, my mother, of everything I had lost. And I whispered a promise to Aaron that he would never feel invisible.
Chapter 9. Marriage so far and plans for the future. When I look back now, I sometimes wonder how we made it here. There were so many moments when fear, guilt, or shame could have made us deny our feelings for each other. But somehow, we chose to be honest about our feelings. Marriage has not been perfect. Some days, David comes in from the farm too tired to talk. Some days, I snap at him over something small. We argue, we disagree, we stay silent longer than we should. But we always come back to each other. Our home has grown with us. The farm that once gave us only maize now provides all that we need. David sells coffee, and my pottery has found its way to markets in nearby towns. We talk often about the future. David dreams of building a small coffee roasting business that Aaron might one day inherit. I dream of opening a pottery studio where village children can come and learn. And together, we dream of sending Aaron to the best school we can afford. Mother Superior was right. You don't have to be a nun or a priest to serve God. You can serve Him by putting Him at the center of your marriage. If you love raw, relatable, and deeply human stories, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next story.